The Buffalo Bills have an opportunity this Sunday to reach their first Super Bowl since 1993 after knocking off the Baltimore Ravens. And this team fully believes they can win the whole thing.
At the end of the day, it's the playoffs. You win or you go home. And our team found a way. Our defense stepped up.
But for the Bills to get to the Super Bowl, they'll have to get through the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. KC had to dig deep and rely on an unlikely source in Chad Henne to hold off the Cleveland Browns. But all eyes this week will be on the health of reigning Super Bowl MVP Patrick Mahomes.
He's doing great right now, which is a real positive.
The Chiefs may not be blowing teams out as they did last season, but they've proven over the past couple of months they can still win close games and they can do it consistently. Will they be up to the task against the red-hot Buffalo Bills? Find out Sunday on CBS. Yep, that one just about 6:30 Eastern time on CBS with Pete Prisco and Brady Quinn. I'm Chris Hassel, and Brady, obviously the key storyline going into this one is all about Patrick Mahomes' health.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I do believe he's going to start and play in this football game. So the biggest question would become then, how do the Buffalo Bills go about trying to stop this offense? If you recall earlier in the season when these two teams squared off, Sean McDermott elected to play a lot of too high safety coverages, force or really dare the Kansas City Chiefs to run the football and say, we're not going to get beat deep. You're going to have to earn your way down the field. Now, that ultimately wasn't effective, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't try to implement some of those same coverages, some of that same strategy into this matchup. So something to keep an eye on, but the bottom line is it's going to take a big performance, I think, from Patrick Mahomes, in part because of what he's facing across the field on offense. This Buffalo Bills offense is operating at a much higher clip than what it was at that point in time during the season. So it's going to come down to probably which team has the ball last who ends up winning this football game.
I love this game. Two great quarterbacks, fun to watch, up-tempo, fast, furious. And the last time they played, the Chiefs ran all over them. But in fairness to the Bills, when they played that game, remember there was a scheduling issue because of COVID. They were supposed to play the Chiefs on a Thursday. The league moved their game with the Titans to a Tuesday, then moved that game to a Monday. So they had to game plan for two different teams kind of over the course of a week. And it was the worst they played the entire season. They haven't been that bad since. And that tells you something about the growth of the team from a youth standpoint. A lot of guys got healthy on defense. Milano, Edmonds is playing much better. I think they were handicapped the first time they played them.
I think one of the most interesting storylines of this matchup, too, is do you guys remember what draft pick it was? Who traded out of that number 10 spot that Kansas City traded up to get? It was Buffalo, and they ended up taking Patrick Mahomes. And what did Buffalo do with their picks that they got from that swap? Well, they got Tre'Davious White in the first round. They got Deion Dawkins later on, their left tackle, in the third round. And the following year, they got Tremaine Edmonds, as well as Josh Allen. So it's just kind of interesting how that trade actually set up, where what we didn't see maybe a few years ago, now this matchup that maybe one, Pete, that it's going to be kind of similar to how we looked at Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Like maybe for years to come, we're talking about Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen now for that AFC championship and for the right to go play in a Super Bowl.
And for the Chiefs, they keep winning with Patrick Mahomes as the starter. He's won 8 straight starts, but Pete, all 8 of those wins by 1 score or less.
You got to throw out last week.
Really? No, I'm talking about the last 2 months, though. I know you throw out last week. You throw out week 17. He didn't play in that game. They lost.
Right.
But every game is close.
Yes.
I mean, they're real close here.
But I really thought we were going to see them blow out the Browns last week. And had he stayed the game, it was going to play that way. I think they really were going to get it going in the second half, throwing the football around. And then when he went out, it changed the dynamic of the game. This team can crank it up when they want to. And we've seen them do it. They did it in playoffs last year. Last week, they didn't have to do it, but when he went out, it became an issue of trying to do it with Chad Henne. So I do think they can still score points. This isn't going to be a blowout. By no stretch of the imagination will this be a blowout.
I agree. I'm right there with you. And I think it really comes down to how the Buffalo Bills go about trying to limit the big plays from the playmakers for the Chiefs. And that's going to be Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And so my whole thing is I think you got to take away Travis Kelce. He is really the engine of this offense in the passing game. He's the guy who's the most targeted. He's got the most receptions. You know, when you're talking about in between the 20s, he's the guy who's moving the football down the field. Tyreek Hill will hit you with some of those knockout punches. We've seen that. But I think if you can find ways, situations to match up Trey White, let him take care of him, then you focus focus your attention on Travis Kelce and you say, all right, someone else beat us. You know, almost like when you're playing the Lakers right now with LeBron and Anthony Davis. You shut those two down. You say, someone else beat us in the passing game for the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't care if it's Mecole Hardman, Sammy Watkins, Demarcus Robinson, maybe a combination of all three, but that's got to be your game plan going into this one. You cannot allow Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce to beat you in this one if you're Sean McDermott.
It's a weird stat, though, that the top three scoring offenses in the league are still alive. The Chiefs aren't one of them. They are not a top 3 offense. They're number 6 in the league coming in as far as scoring. Now, how about the key matchups to watch? And Pete, you mentioned the running game and how Kansas City ran all over Buffalo in that Week 6 game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 160 yards, but they haven't had a 100-yard rusher since.
No, and the Bills' defense has been much better against the run. Down the stretch, they were much better. Now, they weren't great against the run against the Colts. They were much better last week. They did some good things against Lamar Jackson in that run game. They loaded up to stop the run. You can't do that against Mahomes. So the guys who are in the box have to win consistently, and that means, you know, Ed Oliver and that gang up front. They have to win consistently. Tremaine Edmonds and Milano have to get to the football. Here's the thing about the Chiefs. If they're running, and I'm a big believer in this, they didn't win the game, the Bills, but if they're running to score, then you've already beat them. You beat them in terms of what you'd rather have them do. If I'm playing the Chiefs, I'd much rather have their run game going rather than their pass game, because I think you could control that a little bit better than you can their pass game. So if the Chiefs want to run it, have at it. You lose. From my standpoint, from a strategy standpoint, if they're going to run the ball, go ahead, have at it.
It's an interesting point, Pete. I'm on actually the other side as far as looking at the matchup between offensive coordinator Brian Daboll for the Bills and taking on the DC Steve Spagnuolo as far as how they go about constructing what they're trying to take away. And I think if Brian Daboll is conservative at all in this game and then he gets away from everything that brought them to this point, taking shots downfield, staying aggressive, putting in some trick plays, then the Kansas City Chiefs have you beat in that regard. If you start feeling the pressure of going up against Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and this explosive offense. So you can't allow that offense to dictate how you're going to call your plays if you're Buffalo. I think you got to take a page out of one of their divisional opponents, the Las Vegas Raiders and John Gruden and Derek Carr, and how aggressive they were in that matchup earlier this season where they did pull off the victory. So I'm most forward looking to seeing if Brian Daboll will continue to keep throwing a bunch of different curveballs at defenses like we've seen from him this year.
Pete, who's your player to watch in this game?
My player to watch is Josh Allen, and I'm with Brady 100%. Be who you are, and who they've become is a team that plays fast and furious and throws the football around.
They basically didn't run it at all the first half against the Ravens.
They're proven, if they go to the Super Bowl and win it, they're proving to people you don't need to run the ball. You'd like to run the ball when you have a lead. Throw to score, run to win. It's been my philosophy for a long, long time. I will never veer off of that, and I think the Bills are playing it perfectly. Let him throw on early downs. Dictate tempo. Enjoy yourself. Throw it around. Have some fun. Play loose. I'm with you. And this is a big moment for Josh Allen. Look, there's been some along the way. There was an entire season to prove to people he was a star quarterback. He's done it. He won 2 playoff games. He didn't look great in the win last week, but it was very, very windy. Now, go on the road and win this game. There's no doubt in Josh Allen anymore.
You know, I was thinking about picking Josh Allen, but I realized Pete was going to pick him because that's his #1 pick in this matchup. But his #2 would be Tyrann Mathieu because I know he loves Tyrann Mathieu.
That's your pal.
I'm really curious to see how he's going to impact this game. He's an absolute ball hawk. You know, Steve Spagnuolo likes to move him around, give him a bunch of different responsibilities within this defense. So if Josh Allen stumbles and if he turns the football over a couple times, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say Tyrann Mathieu is going to be the cause of it, or he's going to be on the receiving end of that football, making a big play for the Chiefs defense.
Yeah, I think that when Tyrann Mathieu came up, gave you the big bear hug, that's the last documented hug on live television that we've had. That was right as the pandemic was setting in after the Super Bowl last year.
And maybe the last hug that Pete Prisco's gotten since then.
Oh, close. You're close.
All right, let's get some picks here. The line is 3. Kansas City favored by 3 at home. Brady?
I'm on the side of the Buffalo Bills here, and I don't think they win the game. They very well could, especially if Patrick Mahomes doesn't end up playing, but I expect him to play. I just think this is going to be a close football game, and I think it's probably going to end up being the Chiefs winning with the last-second field goal, some sort of last-second play to be able to get the win. But I'm on the side of Buffalo here. I think they're a good football team. They're in a much better spot to challenge them this time around than what we saw earlier in the season.
I was talking to somebody last night who said that they thought the line would be 4 Buffalo favored, 4 or 5 if Chad Henne was the starting quarterback. Okay. I'm with Brady. I think Patrick Mahomes plays. I'm taking the Bills as well. I think it's going to be a tight game. But my favorite pick of the week is the over in the game. 31-30 Chiefs. Give me the Bills. Give me the over. Let's enjoy it, and let's hope like hell there's no wind.
Oh, hold on, Pete. You always yell at me for picking both the spread and the over-under. So what happened now? Now you're taking my part of this deal?
Yeah, I asked today, and they said you didn't do it, so I took over.
All right, Pete loves the over 50 faux. Coming up, we're going to get the NFC picks, but we want to let you know that the game kicks off a little after 6:30 Eastern time. I think it's 6:40 is the exact time, but our live coverage from Arrowhead begins at 6:30 Eastern time, the AFC Championship game, which you can also stream on CBS All Access, and the guys think Patrick Mahomes is going to play, so maybe later on in the week we'll swap Travis Kelce out of there, even though he's the best tight end in the game. Put Patrick Mahomes in there for that great head-to-head quarterback matchup. Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.